Unfiltered, the official Sunderland AFC podcast.
You're listening to SAFC Unfiltered, sponsored by Alpha Security, a very special edition of SAFC Unfiltered because we're joined by SAFC club historian Rob Mason and also writer and producer Nicky Allt. Hi guys, how you doing? Rob, first of all, how are you? It's nice to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, very well, Frankie. Nice to speak to you. And Nicky, I'm sure what follows in this conversation from Nicky particularly is going to be of a vast amount of interest to Sunderland supporters.
Yes, I'm very excited to introduce Nicky Allt now. Writer and producer, tell us, Nicky, what you've been working on, what you're all about.
We've been working on the Sunderland Story, and I'm off to see the director in about half an hour. And we're really excited. Rob knows I've been away for the last week, Frankie, and I've been reading so much on Sunderland. I've got so many books. I've been researching so much. And this has been a story that's sort of been sat with us for a number of years. And we sort of wanted to wait until there was a bit of upward trajectory, really, with the club, because, you know, the club's been on such a roller coaster ride for so long. And after watching the documentary on TV and then the playoff finals, we thought, well, maybe it's about time. And over the years, I'd met so many Sunderland fans who'd said to me, Nicky, you need to write our show. And I just found the supporters, without being condescending here, I just thought the supporters were a level above other supporters. They just were. It was like the club meant so much to them. And I've had this conversation with Rob. In my opinion, I firmly believe that there are not many football clubs in the UK that have that level of support where football is lifeblood. The football club is part of their upbringing, part of their lives. And I've in the past written shows for Liverpool Football Club. I've written shows for Celtic Football Club. Sunderland was always part of that. And we just wanted the right moment. And now, after reading so much, and I've read so many of Rob's books, I've been reading so much about the team of all the talents and Bobby Gurney and the Bank of England club. And I feel I know more about Sunderland than maybe a lot of Sunderland fans now. So I'm just really enjoying it, to tell you the truth.
So, Rob, as club historian, what Nicky's just said is cementing what Sunderland fans have always known. We're a massive club and we've got a huge support and we're a historic club as well, aren't we? But it's that stature within football which is recognised outside the area as to why Nicky's working with us on this.
I'll jump in there, Frankie. And what it is as I say, years and years and years went by, and every time I met Sunderland fans, I thought the club just means so much to them. And I don't think the fans are unrealistic to think that they're different. They are different. I've been to watch Sunderland at away games in the Northwest, in, say, Bolton, Blackpool. And the away support is fanatical. It's fantastic, even when they're really low down in the leagues. And so it just felt like after the playoff finals last year, this was the right time. And with the anniversary, 50 years coming up of 1973, there was a lot of things come together that just felt like it was the right time to write the show.
Yeah, and Nicky, you also said you waited for the time to be right with the club, and you obviously think the club's going in the right direction. I think the fans feel like the club's going in the right direction at the moment. But what was your thoughts of the club when you saw us drop down the leagues and you saw us having those struggling seasons in the Premier League, and then see us change ownership, and then of course it was documented on an international program as well, with Netflix having had their cameras in all over the club. As a Sunderland fan, those are hard times. What were your thoughts as a football fan looking at Sunderland Football Club?
To be blunt, how does this happen to such a football club with such a fanatical fan base? You sort of like, what's that thing that they say about football can change really, really quickly, in time and stuff. And when I'm reading the history and when I'm looking at now and today and the previous 10, 20 years, it's very, very hard to fathom. I mean, for me, who'd followed Liverpool, and they'd had nothing but success in there, the Liverpool supporters sort of moan when they drop to 7th, and they think it's a catastrophe. And you're thinking, well, you think that's a catastrophe? You're looking at the likes of Sunderland and the Sunderland fans. I have a neighbour here who lives just down the road from me, Sunderland season ticket holder, drives up every week, like Rob does from across Scotland, or every game. And I could see the despair in his face, and he'd say to me, I can't believe what's going on. This is over the last 5-10 years. And then when he went to Wembley last year and I seen it, he's got a spring in his step, I thought, oh my God, how a football club can change your life. I think people who support certain football clubs, they don't get that. They don't get why fans can be, so intertwined with their club, and so it can change your mood, it can change your life. And I think there's a lot of other clubs. I won't name football clubs because, as for me, there's only a certain amount that have got that fanatical level. There's certain football club supporters that will never understand that, what a football club can do to your life.
I will try and bring Rob in here if we can. Rob's in his home in Scotland at the moment. Club historian, Rob. The things that Nicky touched upon there just, cements how big Sunderland are as a football club, and that's why he's working with us on this.
As Nicky's already indicated, I've had lots of conversations with Nicky recently. I know that he gets Sunderland Football Club. He's got an inside track on the experiences of Sunderland supporters. And a point that I've made with Nicky, which, he sort of largely goes along with, is that the difference with Sunderland and, say, Liverpool and Celtic, the clubs he's written previous plays on, is Liverpool and Celtic are obviously magnificent football clubs, great football clubs, great supporters, and great success. But they haven't had the kind of ups and downs that Sunderland have had, mainly the downs that Sunderland have had. And what you find with Sunderland and clubs like Sunderland, if there are any clubs like Sunderland, is the lower the lows, the higher the highs. So when we won that playoff at Wembley last season, it was a League One playoff. Liverpool wouldn't contemplate ever being in the Championship, let alone League One. So when we won that playoff at Wembley last May, the high was so incredibly high because of the terrible, terrible depths that Sunderland had sunk to in recent years. And not just recent years, of course. Since 1973, all we've ever had to shout about is a promotion. Well, if we've had a promotion, it means it's been preceded by a relegation. But the Sunderland fans obviously cling on to the fact that historically we are a giant club from the very, very early days of football. And a point I often make to people is that, unless you're very, 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 very old now, old enough to have seen football before World War II, all you've ever seen Sunderland win is the FA Cup, or people like you, Frankie, far too young to have seen Sunderland win the FA Cup in 1973. But if you're a Sunderland person, you're brought up on the tales of Rach Carter, Bobby Gurney, Charlie Buchan, the team of all the talents, greats of the past, people like Len Shackleton, who was such a hero to the generation above me, people who watched Sunderland in the 50s. And so now we're bringing together, or Nicky's bringing together, all of that history of football, of Sunderland Football Club as a celebration. And I think when people see the show that Nicky's working on, I'm confident that it will be a massive success and that people will love it. Certainly if it's anywhere near the standard that I've seen from the clips of the Celtic show that I've been sent and I've looked at, which look like they'll be absolutely terrific on stage.
So, Nicky, if we just go back to you, what can Sunderland fans expect to see in this play then? Is it going to be songs and a storyline through there? Obviously, Sunderland Football Club is the narrative, the history of Sunderland Football Club, but what is the concept for the play?
Concept for the play is it's based around a family called the Carters, who have been Sunderland fans right through the generations, right from the very beginning. They can trace their family right back. And they'll tell the story of the city, tell the story of the shipbuilding, the mines, County Durham, and how it's all linked into their own lives and how it's linked into the city of Sunderland. So really, it's not just football. So if people are coming to just see something that will be football. We won the cup, we got relegated, we got promoted. They'll be disappointed. This is a story about the city too, and about the people of Sunderland. Why they're so fanatical. I often think Often there seems to be something linked into port towns where they build ships and there's the seas close by. I don't know. Listen, I can't wax lyrical about that. I mean, I think of clubs like Napoli, Marseille, Liverpool, Glasgow has that shipbuilding industry too. I think of Sunderland. And there seems to be something with that as well. So there'll be a lot of that history told. We'll have a large screen on stage that will show historical moments and maybe historical goals and legendary people of the football club, headlines that were made in the Sunderland Echo through the past and stuff like that. Why we have a cast on stage and we have a band on stage playing music that will link our scenes together, telling a story with a narrative that goes from James Allen and the founding fathers right up to present day and Wembley in the playoffs. So really, we want to, with a large portion of the show, celebrating 1973, because even me as a little kid, I am old enough, Frankie, so I'm old enough to remember that team is lodged in people's minds. That what Sunderland did in 1973, where they were such underdogs against the mighty Leeds United at the time, I think it also woke up a lot of people in the country to how huge Sunderland were, because when you entered the stadium, it was literally full of Sunderland supporters, and you realised probably, and I've had this conversation with Rob, probably who was the bigger club. It's just that at the time so much noise was made about Leeds, but that win was cemented in real football fans in their psyche. And for us to tell that story, we will tell it from James Allen, founding fathers, right up to present day. But with a large part of the show, we'll celebrate the 1973 and what and those people and what happened and how legendary they are.
Yeah, and Rob, it's a big anniversary coming up for the players who took part in the final in 1973, isn't there? And, you know, those people, Jimmy Montgomery, Dick Malone, Richie Pitt, who was at the last game. Jimmy's working with Dick Malone most match days, aren't they? These are constants in our lives, aren't they? But they're going to be recognised this year.
Absolutely. Well, and rightly so. The team of 73 are, of course, all legendary. I speak to many of them on a frequent basis. As I think is known, there's going to be a big dinner. It's already sold out, but there's going to be a big dinner at the Stadium of Light on the exact anniversary of the FA Cup triumph. That'll be on the 5th of May 2023. Some of the players are also going to be taking a road show around the area, you know, in the run up to that. I've produced a book called 73 at 50, an official club book that's a celebration of the 1973 team. That will come out on the 27th of February, which is the anniversary of the game that was voted the match of the century at Sunderland, the 5th round replay against Manchester City. And as we move into 2023 and that 50th anniversary of Sunderland's greatest post-war team, there'll be lots of events in and around the city, I'm sure. And this play, which as Nicky says, is to a large extent going to focus on the commemorations of the 1973 team, will be a major part in actually helping to celebrate and remember that team, because everybody who was alive at the time, I was lucky enough to be at Wembley that year. I saw 8 of the 9 games in the cup run, like a lot of people. The one I missed was the 4th round replay away to Reading. I was at school and my mother let me go. I was in the middle of my O-levels, which what would be called GCSEs these days. But I saw the other 8 games, and it was the most magical time. Everything, if you're too young to have been there in 1973, everything you've heard about it and everything you've read about it is absolutely true, and then some. Rather like Nicky saying with regard to the play, this is the story of the city connected to the story of the football club. The atmosphere in and around Sunderland in 1973 was not just at the football. It completely transformed the town. Everything went up. So the Stadium of Light now stands on the site of the old Weymouth Colliery. The productivity at that Weymouth Colliery went up about 25% during the cup run. The productivity at industries across Sunderland went up during the cup run. The amount of calls to groups like the Samaritans went massively down during the cup run. Completely transformed the city. Although times were very, very hard, financially, as is often the case in Sunderland, not very many people had very much money and were struggling financially. It was a very, very happy place. And that happiness has lingered on right the way now, because even in the toughest times, Sunderland supporters will still talk about the 1973 team and the greats of the 1973 team. And obviously, you say Monty, Dick Malone, Mickey Horswell, Richie Pitt are often around on pretty much every match day at Sunderland. And we thankfully see a lot of the other players as well, because so many of them still live locally. But at the dinner we're talking about, hopefully all of them, health allowing, all of those that are still alive will still be there.
Yeah, good point. Well mentioned as well, Mickey Horswell as well, as someone who also works every single match day with us at the Stadium of Light. Nicky, if we just come back to you, what Rob was touching upon there, it's a cliche with Sunderland, but when the club's doing well, the city seems to do well as well. And when there's a buzz around the football club, there's a buzz around the city. I think we're in a very transformative time in the city of Sunderland. There's lots of cranes and buildings going up everywhere. And I think the same could be said about the football club. So I think, the timing of this is almost perfect for the play, and there'll be a real buzz around the city. But when will it be in performance and where?
At the Sunderland Empire next May. We can't wait for it. I'm really looking forward to meeting our musical director in the coming half an hour. If I just add to what Rob was saying there, Sunderland needs a great football club. It's a city that has to have a great football club. You can go to other towns. Maybe I'm a little bit biased to the north. You can go along to towns along the south coast and in and around London. I mean, London has so many football clubs now. A city like Sunderland has to have a good football club. I think even in its darkest moments, I've said this to Rob, I don't think Sunderland ever could have folded, even though it's come close in the past, because the people would always pick it up and carry the mantle and create a new version of that. Sunderland, the people and the city has to have a football club. This show for us, it's a privilege to do it, but apart from it being a privilege, we feel a weight because we feel we have to do something that the fans are proud of because they care that much about the football club. We can't just drop a play in to the city and say, well, here's a play about the team of all the talents. Then they won the cup in '73, and then suddenly they were at the playoff finals this year, and they finally got up. And you've got to give them something special. The club means that much to them. I know I'm going on about this here, but these things matter to me, Frankie, because I see a lot of football clubs today being sold off to owners who don't really know the club at all. And I'm talking about, local rivals and stuff like that. I think the ownership at Sunderland at the moment is good. The manager's good. Tony Mowbray, he's a football man. I think he's doing a good job so far. He's steady and everything. And I just feel if Sunderland can take off in the next couple of years, I think the rest of the country would know about it, because the next time Sunderland are in the Premiership, I think even they will recognise as well how good somebody, I've spoken with Rob about this, how good somebody like Peter Reid did, who did quite well in his day. And at the time it wasn't seen as such because the fans want the best. But I think the next time Sunderland are in a Premiership position, or even top of the Championship and doing really well, and like you say, the cranes and the cities changing and transforming, I think they're going to see a transformation in the North East with Sunderland that a lot of the rest of the country will notice. Sunderland, for me, finally, what I would say on it, with success in place and Sunderland doing well, it's a club that can attract 60,000 every week. That says everything. That this is mainly a club that has a fan base mainly in the city. You go to your Liverpools and your Manchester Uniteds now. These football clubs belong to the world. I was being told the other day, I'd say like Liverpool, they have 20,000 fans every week at Liverpool that come from Ireland and Scandinavia. 20,000 every week. Sunderland support for me is virtually almost, I don't know the demography of it, but it's probably 90% at least local. The minute Sunderland have a level of success that it was built last season with the playoffs and stuff. If they go on from that, I think the rest of the country may wake up to Sunderland where they go, whoa, because I know, say I'm older, I'm like Rob, I understand the history and I know how big Sunderland are. I'd like to see them have those days again, like last year, so that the rest of the country wakes up to what a real football club is.
Nicky, I know we're pushed for time. It's been incredible to speak to you. Hopefully we can get to speak at a match soon up on Weir's side. It's been great to have you on the call. And I'm sure the Sunderland supporters listening to this would be very excited about the play happening in May at the Empire in Sunderland. What's the name of the play finally? I'd imagine to be able to start to book tickets soon as well online. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we're launching Monday, and the show is called The Sunderland Story. And hopefully I'll see a lot of those supporters. I don't know if I'll see Rob, but I'm at Blackpool on New Year's Day to watch Sunderland, so I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Oh, fantastic. It's great to have you on the line. And Rob as well, thanks for joining on the line as well from your home in Scotland. I'll probably see you at the next home game because I know you make the trek every single time as well. Thanks very much, chaps. We'll see you soon.